Hello and a very good evening. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. This is India Votes. I'm Frank Pereira. Let's begin with the headlines. India votes in the 8th phase of Lok Sabha poll. 64 seats across 7 states at stake. Moderate voting reported in most areas. From Rahul Gandhi in Amethi to Rabri Devi in Saran, fate of several high-profile candidates sealed in Andhra. Jagan Reddy hopes to ride high on the Telangana issue. Controversies erupt over polling in Amethi. Congress objects to BJP's party symbol inside a booth. AAP alleges booth capturing by the Congress, and the BJP moves the Election Commission against Priyanka's aide. Meet the first ever voter of independent India, 97-year-old Sham Sharan Negi from Himachal Pradesh, felicitated for voting in every single election so far. Well, polling for the 8th phase of Lok Sabha elections was held today across 7 states and 64 constituencies. Let's take a look at how India voted in the second last phase of the mammoth voting exercise.
Brisk polling was seen in most of the 7 states in the 8th phase of Lok Sabha polls on Wednesday. Voters braved the summer heat to queue up at the polling stations to decide the fate of nearly 1,700 candidates. Some of them include heavyweights like Rahul Gandhi, his cousin Varun, Ram Vilas Paswan and Rabri Devi.
पहली बार वोट डाल के अच्छा लगा कि हमने देश के विकास में अपना योगदान दिया।
डाल के मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा, जो हमारे देश का और हमारी आने वाली पीढ़ियों का जो भला कर सके, हम उसी के साथ हैं और उसी को वोट दिया है।
UP was the focus of everyone's attention, particularly Amethi and Sultanpur, where the Gandhi cousins are in the fray. Moderate polling was seen in both seats. Polling was peaceful in the 13 other constituencies as well.
यहाँ पर सवेरे से सारी पार्टियों के लोग हैं, मतदाता में उत्साह है और अभी टाइम जो हुआ है जिस हिसाब से उसके हिसाब से परसेंटेज वोटिंग जो है बहुत अच्छी चल रही है, सब में एक उत्साह है।
Bihar also saw a moderate turnout in the 7 Lok Sabha seats that faced elections. Minor incidents of violence were reported from the Saran constituency, where the workers of 2 parties clashed with each other. West Bengal saw a record turnout in 6 Lok Sabha constituencies, where 72 candidates were in the fray. Polling was peaceful in Jungle Mahal, a former Maoist stronghold, due to the heavy deployment of security forces. In North India, single-phase polling was held in Uttarakhand and Himachal Pradesh. Both states saw a healthy turnout. Several bigwigs, including current and former chief ministers of both states, cast their votes in the early hours.
उम्मीद है कि हिमाचल प्रदेश में कांग्रेस पार्टी का चारों सीटों पर प्रदर्शन जो है बहुत अच्छा होगा।
पिछली बार हमने 3 जीती थी, इस बार हमारी आशा भी है, विश्वास भी है, चारों की चारों जीतेंगे।
हम चुनाव जीतेंगे, मुझे पूरा भरोसा है।
In Jammu and Kashmir, voting was held in the 2 parliamentary constituencies of Baramulla and Ladakh. Although voting started on a slow note, it picked up during the day. Ignoring militant threats and the boycott call of separatists, voters thronged the polling stations in the Baramulla constituency, which is spread over 3 districts of Kupwara, Bandipora and Baramulla. While polling was peaceful in the Ladakh seat, violence was reported from various parts of the Baramulla constituency. The injured included 5 security personnel in attacks on 2 polling stations and a security forces camp. Simandhra recorded an impressive voter turnout both in Lok Sabha and Assembly polls. Barring a few incidents of clashes between the workers of YSR Congress and the TDP, polling was largely peaceful in the region that will have a separate identity after the 2nd of June.
Large queues are present in major part of polling booths in Simandhra region. Now the region is going for polls for both to elect both Lok Sabha MPs and their state assembly. In fact, this is the first state assembly after the bifurcation, and we have been witnessing large crowds in almost every polling booth in Simandhra region, and Kannur district has witnessed 50% up to the afternoon. With few minutes left for the polling, people are still encouraging, and people are very encourageous, and they want to come in large numbers, and they are participating an active role in electoral process in this region.
With the completion of the 8th phase, elections are now complete for 502 of the total 543 Lok Sabha seats. The final phase of polling for the remaining 41 seats will take place on the 12th of May. Counting of votes and results is slated to take place on the 16th of May. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, our correspondents now join us from Seemandra as well as West Bengal. Rajkamal Rao joins us from Kurnool and Pranav Goswami joins us from Kolkata. Let me first go across to Rajkamal Rao. Of course, Rajkamal, big day as far as the Seemandra region is concerned. 25 Lok Sabha seats, 175 assembly seats. Take us through how the day went there in Seemandra today.
Frank, to give you a ground perspective, I was there in a polling booth at 7:05 this morning and I could see 4,000 people lined up in the queue in Kurnool town. Kurnool town was in the faction affected areas and it had experienced very low percentage in last assembly and Lok Sabha elections. But today, and with the contest, the kind of bipolar contest has encouraged people to come and participate in elections in huge numbers. I've been traveling in Kadapa, Kurnool and Anantapur districts in the afternoon. Even in small villages, people came out in large numbers and they wanted a decisive government. When I spoke to young voters and old women, they said they want a decisive government at state. So they came in large numbers and voted. So this percentage may increase up to 70 as per the Election Commission data. We don't have the final data now, but this kind of polling and percentage is very encouraging.
Well, it is indeed extremely encouraging to see such kind of a high voter turnout. Do stay with us, Rajkamal. We'll come back to you for another perspective in just a bit. Let's go across to Kolkata now, where Pranav Goswami is standing by. Pranav, take us through what happened in West Bengal today.
See, West Bengal has always recorded very high voter turnout, and this time also till 4 p.m. It recorded more than 75% voter turnout. And in an election commission, according to election commission reports, long queues have been seen still, and the polling will be continued till they are cleared. So it is definitely going to be again more than 80%. That is a very good sign. If you talk about political equation, in 2009 election, left front had won all 6 seats in this region. But this time, if you compare with 2004 election, left front, the margin of vote drastically dropped. So it is very difficult time for left front. As far as BJP is concerned, we have been seeing that Trinamool Congress Supremo Mamata Banerjee has been attacking on BJP's Prime Minister candidate Narendra Modi. So BJP is definitely very optimistic, at least in 2 Lok Sabha seats in Asansol and in Bakura, and it seems that BJP is hopeful to improve its vote share, at least in West Bengal, where their situation has never been good.
All right, Pranav, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us there with all those inputs from West Bengal. Rajkamal, do stay on with us. I'll come to you for another thought, of course, ahead in the show. But right now, let's move on. Of course, the penultimate phase sealed the fate of several heavyweight candidates across 7 states. Amethi witnessed a high-profile contest with Rahul Gandhi seeking re-election. In Bihar, LJP chief Ramvilas Paswan and RJD chief Lalu Prasad's wife Rabri Devi were also in the fray. Here's a look at some of the top contests that took place in this phase.
The 8th phase of polls saw some of the big names contesting in the 7 states where voting was held on Wednesday. With maximum number of seats at stake, Andhra Pradesh, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar and West Bengal has the most number of prominent names. In Uttar Pradesh, the most keenly watched contest will be in Amethi, where Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi will face stiff challenge from BJP's Smriti Irani and Aam Aadmi Party's Kumar Vishwas. Rahul Gandhi visited some of the booths in Amethi, betraying signs of nervousness for the Congress in one of its safest seats. The Congress Vice President hadn't visited the constituency during voting in the 2009 election.
मेरा फोकस लोकतंत्र को मजबूत करने का है. ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा लोगों को वोट देना चाहिए, महिलाओं को, युवाओं को. ये मेरा लक्ष्य है.
In neighbouring constituency of Sultanpur, Rahul's cousin BJP's Varun Gandhi will also be in fray. Union Minister Beni Prasad Verma is seeking re-election from Gonda, while cricketer turned politician Mohammad Kaif will contest on Congress ticket from Phulpur.
सारे देशवासियों को जाना चाहिए, कम से कम जो वोटिंग परसेंटेज जो अभी थोड़ा सुनने वाली की बढ़ रही, इस साल बढ़ी काफी, तो जो वोट का जनता को जाना चाहिए, वोट डालना चाहिए.
In Bihar, LJP chief Ramvilas Paswan hopes to win Hajipur seat. His party has allied with BJP at the centre.
RJD Chief Lalu Prasad's wife and former Bihar Chief Minister Rabri Devi will be in fray from Saran, a seat represented by her husband so far. She is facing tough challenge from BJP's Rajiv Pratap Rudy.
जन समूह है और सब जगह से जो रिपोर्ट आ रहा है हमको पूरा का पूरा विश्वास है कि हाजीपुर अपना पुराना रिकॉर्ड 1977 का तोड़ेगा.
In Andhra Pradesh, where assembly polls were held simultaneously with voting for 25 Lok Sabha seats, many known faces locked horns in key contests. In the assembly polls, TDP Chief Chandrababu Naidu and YSR Congress Chief Jagan Mohan Reddy will be contesting as the two potential candidates for the post of Chief Minister. After casting his vote, YSR Congress Chief Jagan Reddy said his party is open to post-poll alliances.
Our interest is at stake. We have all our options.
In the Lok Sabha polls, Jagan's mother Vijaya Amma will be in fray from Visakhapatnam, while Congress's KC Deo will seek re-election from Araku seat. Union Minister MM Pallam Raju will look for a straight fourth win from Kakinada seat.
This is my 6th Lok Sabha election, and I have toured extensively all over the constituency, talking about the development done by the Congress party and by myself, and I have told them about the dedication and sincerity which I have done my duties and the development I have brought to the region.
In Himachal Pradesh, BJP's Anurag Thakur is facing a triangle contest in Hamirpur. Kamal Kanta Batra, mother of Kargil martyr Vikram Batra, is also in fray as an Aam Aadmi Party candidate. The Congress has put up Rajendra Singh Rana, a former BJP leader.
पार्टी के वरिष्ठ नेताओं ने आगे बढ़ने का मौका भी दिया और हमने प्रयास करके मेहनत करके काम किया है. आज जनता के बीच में जाकर उसी बात का फल मिल रहा है कि लोगों ने अपना अभूतपूर्व सहयोग समर्थन दिया है.
In West Bengal, CPM's Basudeb Acharya will lead the Left Front's challenge in this phase. He's up against TMC's new entrant actor Munmun Sen. Singer Babul Supriyo is also in fray from Asansol on BJP ticket. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, Rajkamal Rao, our correspondent, is still standing by with us from Kurnool, and we are also joined by Sham Sundar from Delhi, of course. Let's get a perspective now from Rajkamal first. Rajkamal, we just took our viewers through some of the key contests there in Andhra Pradesh and Seemandhra as well. And of course, there are several big heavyweight candidates. But what is the mood really like as far as these parties are concerned? Are they all confident that they have done extremely well in this phase of polling?
See, if you take the account of the kind of voting that took place, every political party is certain that it is not the Congress government. Now, the focus is shifting towards YSR Congress and Telugu Desam Party, which benefited from the bifurcation of the state in terms of cadre, because all the existing Congress cadre has moved to YSR Congress and Telugu Desam Party. Here, I'll give you the caste perspective of the state. Reddy community has moved towards YSR Congress, and Kamma and Kapus have moved towards the Telugu Desam Party. So these three castes are the dominant castes in Andhra region, especially in Rayalaseema and Seemandhra. So with the competition between these two communities intensifying between the polarization of Reddy voters and Kapu voters, the contest has become bipolar. In a bipolar contest where you have no manifesto promises, nothing concrete to developmental issues. So in this contest, which is based on a pure personality of Jagan versus Chandrababu Naidu, to predict tilt towards one side is difficult, but increasing voter percentage is very important in this kind of election, where even analysts may fail to predict the winner this time, Frank.
All right, do stay with us there, Rajkamal. Let's get a perspective now from Sham Sundar as well. Sham, we saw several big names in the fray. Certainly a make or break election for several of these big leaders.
Well, as far as West Bengal elections are concerned in this phase, stakes of left front is quite high, because if you talk about Asansol or Jhargram or Purlia, Bankura, the tribal areas of West Bengal, it used to be left bastion till 2009, and in even 2009 when there was a wave of change in West Bengal, left was able to retain its seats in these areas, but in these elections, fight seems to be very very difficult for left front. TMC is giving them a very tough time, whether it's Mr. Vasudev Acharya, who is the leader of CPM in Lok Sabha.
Right.
Munmun Sen is giving him a tough time. In Asansol, there is a interesting fight because BJP's Bapul Supriyo, who is a very well-known Bollywood singer, he is BJP candidate, and in Asansol we can say that there is a multi-corner fight and anything can happen, and left is quite hopeful there.
All right, Shyam Sundar as well as Rajkamal Rao, we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us there with all those thoughts. We'll slip into a very short break now, but we'll be right back. To stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching Rajya Sabha Television. Well, the high-profile contest in Amethi saw a few controversies on Wednesday. Congress Vice President Rahul Gandhi today complained to the Election Commission after spotting a lotus, the BJP's poll symbol, sketched inside a polling booth in Amethi. Rahul is contesting from this seat for the third time. At a polling station set up inside a school in Fula village, Rahul raised objections at a lotus flower drawn with chalk on a blackboard. BJP dismissed Rahul's charges, saying that the leader is frustrated over his impending defeat from the seat. Aam Aadmi Party too complained against the Congress leader for travelling with 24 cars on the polling day. They also accused the Congress with booth capturing.
राहुल गांधी जी अमेठी से हार रहे हैं, इसलिए अभी से तरह तरह के आरोप लगा रहे हैं। ब्लैक बोर्ड पर कमल किसी बच्चे ने बना दिया था, तो ब्लैक बोर्ड पर तो राहुल जी आप कमल मिटवा सकते हैं, लेकिन अमेठी की जनता और देश की जनता के दिल में जो कमल का फूल और नरेंद्र भाई का चेहरा है, उसे आप मिटा नहीं सकते।
वोटिंग प्रतिशत बढ़ा है, 11 बजे तक 21% हो गया है। मुझे उम्मीद है कि 60 से 70 के बीच चला जाएगा। युवा जिस भारी मात्रा में निकले हैं, वो सारी प्रेस और सबसे एक ही कह रहे हैं, बदलाव बदलाव। जहां जहां बूथ कैप्चरिंग खबरें हुई हैं, जहां जहां में आशंका थी, हमने पहले भी चुनाव आयोग से, स्थानीय प्रशासन से हमने वीडियो मॉनिटरिंग की मांग की थी, लेकिन हमारी मांग वो मानी नहीं गई।
Well, BJP candidate Smriti Irani has complained to the Election Commission that Priyanka Gandhi's political secretary was trying to influence voters in Amethi on Wednesday. She also accused that the secretary entered a polling station without clearance from the poll panel. Priyanka's political secretary was later asked to leave Amethi by the election officials. According to Election Commission's rules, people not registered to vote in a constituency and those from outside canvassing for candidates have to leave once campaigning ends.
तो श्रीमती वाड्रा की जो सेक्रेटरी हैं, वो किस अधिकार से पोलिंग बूथ के अंदर घूम रही हैं? हमने जब बोला कि आप हमें अथॉरिटी लेटर दिखाइए, उन्होंने हमें अथॉरिटी लेटर नहीं दिखाया। हमने प्रशासन से निवेदन किया कि आप अथॉरिटी लेटर खुद देखिए। यहाँ पे एक पत्रकार थे, उनसे कहा गया कि भाई हमारी रिकॉर्डिंग मत करो।
Well, Independent India's first voter, 97-year-old Shyam Sharan Negi, cast his vote in Himachal Pradesh's Kalpa village. He was accompanied by his wife Hiramani to the polling station. Negi was presented with a shawl and a garland before he went to cast his vote. Reportedly, Negi has voted in every single election since 1951, when the country held its first elections after independence from colonial British rule in 1947. The first Indian to cast his vote in the tehsil of Chini was Shyam Sharan Negi. He was then 34 years old. Internet giant Google India has released a video pledge to vote that tells the story of Negi, who has never missed the chance to vote.
सब मतदाताओं से मेरी दुआ है कि कोई मतदाता खाली ना रहे, सब आकर के अपना मतदान यहाँ अदा करें।
Well, BJP's Narendra Modi has been denied permission for one of his rallies in Varanasi. His party has reacted sharply, asking the Election Commission to sack the officer responsible. In a letter to the poll panel, BJP leader Arun Jaitley said that the party had informed the returning officer on Monday about the rallies. A written application was also sent out by the BJP, but the party was informed yesterday that one of the venues had been booked already. At being challenged on the booking, the official allegedly cited intelligence alerts to refuse the BJP's request. The Uttar Pradesh administration claims that they had asked the BJP to pick a different venue, saying a larger crowd could endanger Modi's security. Modi was planning to address 2 rallies in the city.
The returning officer of this constituency is a threat to free and fair elections. Right. If he accepts backdated applications from people to deny us and then cites IB reports why Mr. Modi can't be allowed to campaign in Varanasi, this is unprecedented, this is unheard of.
With that, it's a wrap on this edition of India Votes. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.